and welcome to Charlie Codes. This is the inaugural session of this channel, and I'm going to start real slow, but just to say that in other channels maybe people focus on technology specific things, or someone will do a channel and do a whole series on Next.js or something like that. This is aiming to be different. I'm a developer of 26 years professional experience, and I'm trying to bring more exotic use cases and more meaty kind of things where you would kind of dismiss things out of hand as being not worth doing, or tricky or fiddly, or even out of reach. So I'm just going to try and dispel those myths and say, look, we can aim higher, we can go further. So yeah, this is the reason for the existence of Charlie Codes. So today, really simple project, and what we're going to do here is just look at a very simple Node.js app. And the issue that I'm dealing with today is documentation, and keeping documentation in step. For me, that's one of the biggest bugbears. Is you've got a project that's you've got a CI/CD pipeline, you're delivering code into production, you've got a nice cadence going, and yet your documentation, nobody wants to maintain it because everyone would rather be writing code. And it's nice if you can automatically generate that documentation from the code. Taking that one step further, it's, can we auto-generate documentation that will actually be useful, functional? So to that end, this is about generating Postman Collections from a Node.js project. So let's dig in. So the first thing that we're going to take a look at is so we have the entry point to the app, and you can see there's not much going on here. We have a roots folder, and we have some roots defined in here, and we just have the one controller. And this is I had to grab some dummy data. I just didn't want to do anything kind of that boring, so I've got some songs. And if we just take a little look here, you can see that this is from Spotify. If we just take a look at some data here, this is the kind of thing. So these are all shall we say artists that you may have heard of. So yeah, Taylor Swift, I've heard of her. There you go. Super cool. Okay, so this controller is just going to call this service and get a bunch of songs back, and that's really it. So if we just run this up, a little bit of stage fright. Okay, here we go. That's cool. So what we should be able to see, if I just give it a quick curl command from the desktop, and we're getting some data back. So that's kind of what we would expect. So how do we generate a Postman collection from this code? Well, really, I think the best way is to annotate your code with docblocks. What do I mean by docblocks? So let's go back to the root file. Okay, so if we just drop in some docblocks here, and you should see that, well, we've got some descriptive information that's kind of not going to be that useful, author description, but method, that's kind of important. We'd like to know what that is. The name of it would be useful. If you've seen in Postman, you have to specify the name and the actual root separately. Content type, that's pretty useful stuff to know. And then the responses that we're likely to get. And you see that I've just kind of separated this data out within curly brackets, just so we can identify where the values are in those strings nice and easily with just a simple bit of regex. And then, yeah, just a little example of how to use our API. So we could generate something kind of useful from that. So the return type from this is going to be the songs. So maybe we want to define what that looks like. So we can bring in a type definition for the songs. So let's grab that here. Paste that in. Okay. So yeah, this has got all of our fields, and this is our type definition for song. So that's kind of useful. And now I think we would want to specify, so we can see here on the 200 route, or the 200 response type, that we're returning a type called song, which is now defined here, and we want to define HTTP error. What's that going to look like? So we can just bring in a simple definition for that, and maybe I'll just pop that up top. Okay, that looks pretty reasonable. So how are we actually going to get this? Well, let's say, just close this up. So let's just create a project folder for doing the auto generation. That's just going to create this little folder here and run npm init in there, and we're going to create an environment file. It's going to hold some settings, and yeah, we're good. So let's see. The first thing that we want to do is just add a little bit of boilerplate in here. So you can see we're bringing in the file system API, we're bringing in path, bringing in docblock from this library called docblock. That's the thing that's going to do the magic here. And then we're going to bring in from the Postman collection these item and collection classes here. So that's pretty much what we're going to be playing with today. Now, so the first thing that we want to do is create a new Postman collection. So we'll just have a look here. Postman collection, which is still in memory, so we'll have to just console log that to see what we get. So yeah, you can see here we've got, it's given it an ID automatically. We've given it the name song APIs, but other than that, it's pretty empty. So we would want to maybe write this out to file. So we'll just put that there, and get rid of that console log now. And maybe just one thing that might be good to do is if we use nodemon, then we won't have to keep restarting everything. So we'll just go back out to our package JSON and change our start script here, and double quotes. Okay, npm start. Okay. Okay. Now, the next thing that I want to do is just add some things into that environment file, which I think could be useful for us. So this is the server that the API is going to be running on. This is the port that's going to be running on. So we're going to add these into the Postman collection as collection variables. That would be probably the best place for them. So let's just then bring in some constants just to read those values in from the environment, and maybe even now we can define some variables within our collection here. So that's going to run now, and then we should be seeing in here yeah, we got some variables to find the string, and the types are correct, so that's looking nice. Now, next thing we want to do is we want to bring in our route file or root file, because we're going to read it. So let's do that here. So that's going to be reading from here, which is where we put our doc blocks. Okay, so now we've got that in there, we'll just console log out the result. Broke something. There we are. So you can hopefully see that we've got wherever there. So take for example the HTTP error. What it's done is it brings in these tags, so we can see we have a tag here for type def. So if we go back here, you'll see there's type def, and then we have one parameter which is a string of type message. So if we go back here, you can see that in params, which is just an array, that's worked, and we have all these different objects here. So what we want to do is just some simple JavaScript just to parse them. So let's bring in something to take a quick look at the types. So there we go. So there's our type def. So we've parsed type HTTP error and song. And there's all the parameters that are defined on the song, which is all the fields. And now let's bring something in to parse the roots out. So now if we scroll down here, we should see that it's brought in our root here. So we've got the one object there, which is the root, which gets a list of songs, and there's all of the parameters that we defined on that object. So now we need a function which is then going to parse those responses. So we'll just bring in something like that. Okay, so this has parsing the responses on our first root. So you see we've got the 200, the 401, the 403 and the 500 all being parsed out correctly, and you can see we've got the return types there as well. So that's as we would expect. And now we need to add some code to actually build our root, which is the item object that we pulled in from the Postman Collections SDK. So we're going to be building one of these now, which we're then going to add to the collection. So we'll just bring that in here. And then we want to iterate over the roots and build them and then add them into the collection. And in this example there's only one root, so but obviously in more complicated examples you'd have more than that. So that's pretty much it. So we'll just see what we get in our Postman collection. So we can see here that we've got our request here. We've got the URL specified as the port, and that's using a collection variable. The way that we did that was when we're building the URL, we just use some simple string interpolation there, and yeah, then we get our responses added there as well. So now if we just take a look at what that looks like in Postman. Okay, so let's just pull that freshly generated file into Postman and see how it looks. So see on our collection overview, that's been named correctly. We have some variables in here, server import, and if we just look at our API here, we can see these are the return types that we mentioned, and we should be able to just hit that. The name is specified up here, that's the path. We've got the variable placeholders here, and yeah, we're getting some data back about Lato Yung Cook. And that's it, guys. So thanks very much for that. I hope that was useful. I hope that set you guys thinking about what you could achieve. And yeah, I'll see you in the next one. Thanks for watching.